My teen daughter disobeyed me and threw a secret party while I was away, but what she thought was harmless fun ended in tragedy when my youngest was horrifically harmed by 4 men, leaving our entire family shattered and me struggling to hold it together through the guilt, anger, and grief. To begin, I am a widow with 3 children, but in this discussion, my focus will be on my 2 youngest daughters, Leah, aged 14, and Maya, aged 18. Last December, Leah endured a sexual assault by 4 individuals. This tragic event occurred when Maya hosted a gathering during my night shift, and 4 of the young men present at this party attacked Leah. It has been absolutely devastating. Leah has completely lost her zest for life and has withdrawn from cheerleading. Furthermore, she opted to pursue her freshman year exclusively through online courses. She no longer sleeps in her own room, preferring to stay with me, and she constantly wears my late husband's hoodies. As a mother, I feel utterly helpless, unsure of how to support her through this. Throughout the subsequent investigation, many details emerged concerning Maya's involvement. She did not orchestrate her younger sister's assault. However, I believe she was severely negligent, and the entire incident could have been prevented had she simply adhered to my directives. I never sanctioned a party. I entrusted her with the responsibility of supervising Leah. And before anyone comments, "You're her mother," it's not her job to watch your child. The reality is, it was indeed her role. I compensate her quite generously to oversee her sister during my night shifts. This arrangement has been in place for years. Leah has no special needs whatsoever. My only expectation of Maya was to ensure her sister completed her assignments and retired at a reasonable hour. The perpetrators who assaulted Leah were personally invited by Maya. She knew them intimately and was aware of their connections to gangs, yet she showed no concern. Instead, what the investigation uncovered was her attempt to pair Leah with one of these boys, despite Leah's clear disinterest. This individual pestered Leah all evening, pressuring her for a kiss. Eventually, Leah had enough and retreated to her room. The moment Maya departed for McDonald's, that same individual and his companions ascended to my daughter's bedroom and attacked her. The most unsettling aspect for me is that attendees at the party heard her cries but remained inactive, merely assuming it was a couple arguing upstairs. We remained unaware of what had transpired until the following morning, after the party had concluded. Having her undergo a forensic examination was deeply traumatizing for Leah, and likely the most painful experience for me as a parent. A couple of weeks later, she received a positive diagnosis for a treatable sexually transmitted infection. My child has been utterly broken ever since. Even though those individuals were apprehended, and all 4 admitted guilt due to incriminating evidence on their phones, the healing process for Leah remains incredibly challenging right now. Maya, conversely, has shown remorse, and Leah harbors no ill will towards her, nor does she hold her accountable. She still cares for her sister. Yet, for reasons I cannot fully grasp, I feel such profound anger toward Maya. I have genuinely tried to extend forgiveness, but currently, I find myself unable to. At this moment, I cannot even look at her without a strong urge to express my fury. Her prom is scheduled for next weekend, and honestly, I am indifferent. She attempts to engage me in conversation, but I struggle to show any genuine interest. I do not despise my daughter. I still love her, but I currently hold a significant aversion toward her. I have been reading self-help books, hoping to discover a constructive way to navigate these emotions. I feel isolated, unable to confide in anyone about this. Perhaps this serves as a plea for assistance from a mother in despair. Edit. Thank you for all the feedback. The most frequently asked question I'm encountering is whether Maya still supervises Leah. The definitive answer is no. I no longer place my trust in her, and it could take years to rebuild that trust. I am currently on a leave of absence from work. Additionally, Leah is not undergoing therapy at this moment. She has expressed that she is not prepared for it. I believe she might be more receptive after the sentencing. Maya is also in therapy, though she frequently misses appointments. I am undergoing therapy myself, and it has been instrumental in helping me maintain composure throughout this ordeal, preventing me from lashing out at Maya. However, the most prevalent advice I'm hearing and seriously considering is sending Maya to my parents' home for a period to create some distance. Apology for a brief second edit for those inquiring if Maya is involved in a gang. To my knowledge, she is not. The most I've ever known her to engage in was marijuana use and vaping. I also refuse to believe Maya would deliberately orchestrate her sister's brutal assault. Therefore, I am inclined to conclude that Maya was genuinely being merely negligent that evening. Furthermore, I believe it would have surfaced in the investigation if she had intentionally planned Leah's assault. The individual Maya attempted to set Leah up with was 17 at the time. He is now 18, and the other 3 were adults. Update 1. To put it quite simply, Maya was taken into custody on the night of Leah's assault. She faced charges of felony child endangerment and 2 misdemeanors. The presiding judge was quite lenient with her, imposing a $2,000 fine, 60 hours of community service, and a 3-year probation period. Additionally, I confiscated her car. Reflecting on it now, after this update, perhaps I should have sought a more severe penalty for her. But returning to the latest developments, a summarized version is available at the end. On Thursday afternoon, Maya and I had a confrontation. The disagreement arose because Leah approached me visibly distressed and on the verge of tears. 5 people had messaged her that day, expressing sympathy regarding her assault. Leah has been very clear that she does not want anyone she knows to be aware that she was the victim of the attack. Upon further inquiry, it was discovered that Maya had disclosed to a group chat of 27 individuals that Leah was the victim. Leah conveyed to me how profoundly humiliated she felt and that she believes she can never return to school next year. Naturally, I then confronted Maya about it. She repeatedly asserted that I was overreacting and that Leah was being overly dramatic. I attempted to reason with her, to help her comprehend the pain she had inflicted upon her sister, but she failed to grasp the issue. She cut me off mid-lecture, exclaiming, "Good heavens, Mom, you need to let her manage this instead of constantly rushing to her defense." Leah is no different from other women globally who endure such trauma. At least they don't make it their entire identity like she does. Besides, she's fine. I literally overheard her speaking to a boy on the phone last night. It became clear to me in that instant that she was not truly remorseful at all, and I had just witnessed her facade crumble. I simply instructed her to pack her belongings and informed her that she would reside with my parents until I permitted her return. She complied precisely. However, the following morning, I received a message from Maya, requesting that I meet her at her therapist's appointment later that day. Looking back, I now wish I had never attended, because for the majority of the session, her therapist only acknowledged Maya's perspective. Nevertheless, the appointment began with Maya offering an apology and clarifying her rationale for confiding in her friends. She was simply venting. Moreover, she didn't perceive it as a significant issue, given that it was a public case covered by the news, and Leah appeared to be doing well these days. Leah is listed as a Jane Doe and is not identified anywhere by name, but I digress. We then delved into the intricacies of the situation. Maya then stated, in the presence of the therapist, that she felt emotionally neglected by me and that I consistently appeared indifferent to her own trauma concerning the situation. For her, this trauma involved spending a weekend in jail and losing one of her friends, who happened to be one of Leah's actual rapists. I genuinely wish I were exaggerating, but I am entirely serious. We spent the initial 30 minutes discussing that. Her therapist attempted to make me feel guilty for not being more emotionally present for Maya and suggested I should strive to view things from her perspective as her mother, especially since their father is no longer with us. However, call me an uncaring parent, but I have no desire to offer emotional support to Maya if it entails assisting her in grieving a friendship with the individual who shattered her sister's life. The therapist was particularly intense, especially as she persistently referred to what occurred to Leah as an unfortunate incident, or asserted that Leah seemed happier recently, based on Maya's accounts. Yet, Leah is literally heavily medicated with antidepressants and continues to score extremely low on mental health evaluations. If you just experienced an emotional outburst, feel free to bypass the next paragraph, as it contains a significant trigger warning and I become very explicit here. I am simply restating what I conveyed to both Maya and her therapist. I find it rather repulsive that both of you are refusing to acknowledge Leah's profound suffering in this situation, consistently referring to it as an accident. You spend a mere weekend in custody while your sister was hospitalized, enduring the aftermath of something your friend inflicted upon her. Ironically, if you had ever truly listened to Leah, she has stated that this very friend of yours was the most violent toward her during the assault and was the primary cause of most of the injuries she sustained, including nearly strangling her. So, for both of you to sit here and rebuke me for not grieving the loss of your friend because of something truly terrible your friend did to your sister is utterly disgusting. My deepest regret right now is having assisted you in securing legal representation. I should have allowed you to remain incarcerated and fended for yourself. Maya began to weep in the office at this point, asserting it was unjust that I held her accountable for what happened to Leah. She explained that her sole intention was to encourage Leah to be more outgoing, as Leah had been clinging to her at the party. The therapist then interjected, asking Maya how Leah responded when she apologized. Maya, in a highly defensive manner, retorted, "Apologize for what? I didn't assault her." Even the therapist was visibly surprised by her statement. At that juncture, I had heard enough. I rose, threw my hands up in exasperation, and exited the room. I have not communicated with Maya since then, and this transpired on Friday afternoon. Maya has been sending me messages and calling, pleading to return home so she can offer apologies to both Leah and myself. However, I am at a loss at this point. I never imagined I would become the parent who would need to sever contact with my daughter, but I question if I can bear to be in her presence. I cannot trust her, and she demonstrates absolutely no remorse for what occurred. A part of me wishes to try to mend things for Leah's sake, as she inquired yesterday if she had ruined our family, and that truly broke my heart. Leah loves and admires Maya, and I don't believe she can fully grasp at this time that Maya also failed her. I am simply in a quandary, or perhaps you can tell me if I am wrong for not comprehending Maya. I apologize for the less than cheerful update. I should explain what occurred that particular morning. At this point, I arrived home at approximately 8:30 a.m. from work, and my house was in disarray, with a few of Maya's friends still present. Naturally, I had a brief argument with Maya about hosting a party. I then proceeded to check on Leah, and she wasn't in her room, but her sheets had bloodstains. I initially assumed it was her menstrual cycle and that she was either showering or sleeping in my bed. However, upon checking my room, I did not find her. I began calling Leah, and her phone rang. I heard it coming from my walk-in closet. I discovered her wrapped tightly in a blanket, like a cocoon. I then shook her to rouse her, but she remained unresponsive. When I attempted to unwrap her, I noticed her scalp was bleeding, and there were abrasions around her neck. I immediately screamed for someone to call 911. Leah slowly began to stir in the ambulance, starting to cry, and the first thing she confided in me was that Maya's friend had attacked her and that she couldn't move due to immense pain. When the law enforcement and paramedics arrived, I honestly had no concern for Maya in that moment. All I instructed her to do was be truthful with the authorities, assuring her she would be fine. I was unaware then of what I comprehend now. At this juncture, they escorted her to the precinct, and the officers interrogated her. After receiving a medical report detailing Leah's injuries, they decided to charge Maya with child endangerment. I did not witness Maya's reaction when she was informed about what happened to Leah, but when she saw Leah upon her release from jail, she embraced her tightly, and I perceived it as a tender moment. The only warning sign that stands out to me from that period is Maya's incomplete cooperation in providing names, claiming she had forgotten. Fortunately, DNA results from the crime scene, found on Leah, matched all 4 of Leah's assailants, who were already in the system for other offenses, one even on probation. Thus, they were easily apprehended, leading to a cascading effect. My eldest child is my son, who married a month prior to these events. I was reluctant to burden him excessively with Maya's situation, as I wished for him to relish his newlywed phase with his wife. He and his wife are incredibly supportive, and his wife frequently takes Leah for sleepovers or simply to get her out of the house. I understand I am likely not alone in navigating this, but my 14-year-old daughter, Leah, has been profoundly depressed, and rightly so. She has endured 2 traumatic experiences within a 4-year span at her tender age. She was sexually assaulted last December, and she lost her father 4 years ago. I recall at 14 feeling as though the world was against me, yet I had both my parents by my side and had never faced an assault, so I cannot fully grasp what she is currently enduring. This morning, I overheard her weeping in the bathroom. I inquired if she was all right, and she quickly affirmed she was. It simply makes me feel so powerless as her mother, unable to alleviate her pain or offer meaningful assistance. I cannot fully empathize with her because I have not personally experienced sexual assault, and both my parents are still alive. Consequently, I feel like a terrible mother because I cannot effectively guide and support her through the current circumstances. I feel as though, as a mother, I should possess all the answers, but I do not. I just know that in her mind, every time I attempt to comfort her, she probably thinks, "What is this woman talking about?" Because I honestly feel as though I am clueless 99.9% of the time. So, any other mothers who can relate, please share some helpful advice. I have 3 children, a 24-year-old son, an 18-year-old daughter, and a 14-year-old daughter. My late husband passed away very suddenly 4 years ago due to complications. He did not have a will, but we had a life insurance policy that provided a $360,000 death benefit. As his spouse, I received the entire sum. I decided to distribute the money 4 ways. I would receive $120,000, and each of my 3 children would receive $80,000. At the time, both of my daughters were minors, so I informed them they could access their full amount upon turning 18. However, if they ever wished to undertake something costly, I would permit them to utilize a portion of their share. Most of their essential needs were met by me. My son was over 18, so I provided him with his share immediately. This arrangement was a verbal agreement, and I fully intended to honor it. Recently, however, my middle daughter, whom we will refer to as M, was arrested in December for child endangerment because she severely neglected her younger sister, leading to a dreadful event occurring under her supervision. She had to use some of her $80,000 to cover legal and court expenses, which left her with approximately $65,000. Fast forward to the present, and my youngest daughter continues to struggle considerably. During her medical evaluations, she consistently scores very low on mental health assessments and is on a substantial dosage of antidepressants. She often remarks, jokingly, that if she were to fully disclose her true feelings to us or the medical professionals, she would be admitted to a psychiatric ward. Maya no longer resides with us, as I sensed her presence was causing more harm than good to her sister. She is currently staying with my parents, but has been repeatedly asking me for the funds I promised her after her graduation. I have been hesitant to provide it. My sister, who is privy to the situation, believes Maya does not deserve the money and that I should instead utilize it to prolong my time at home with my youngest, who will be unsupervised during the day once I resume work soon. With my youngest deteriorating mental health and school being out, I am deeply concerned about her. Maya is on the verge of attending college, and I understand the majority of the money would be allocated for that. However, I remain very angry with Maya for the suffering she inflicted upon her sister. I am finding this decision incredibly difficult. So, what if I retained her inheritance? Edit. I did not anticipate so many responses, but I am diligently reading through all of them. To those inquiring what my husband would have advised if he were still alive, I genuinely do not know, which is precisely why I am conflicted. A part of me wants to believe he would honestly tell me to give Maya the money so she could attend college, as higher education was important to him. However, another part of me knows that if he had heard the specific details of what happened to Leah, he would be far more severe than I am and disown her permanently. Thus, it is challenging to ascertain his wishes when I myself am uncertain. Update 2. My daughter, Leah, aged 14, has been navigating a difficult period following the sexual assault she endured last December. This past week has been particularly trying for our family. It began last Tuesday when a sheriff and another official visited our home. They informed us that one of Leah's assailants, the individual who recorded the attack, had shared the video within a group, and it is now circulating on certain parts of the dark web. The video was filmed in Leah's room and contained identifiable objects that revealed her school's location. I was devastated upon receiving this news. Leah's reaction, however, surprised me. She did not cry or exhibit much emotion. Instead, she simply shrugged and commented, "I figured," before lapsing into silence. The officials reassured us that it is uncommon for perpetrators to reappear in such instances, but they felt compelled to inform us for safety considerations. After their departure, Leah reverted to acting as if nothing had occurred, almost overly cheerful. I tried to discuss the matter with her several times, but she consistently avoided the topic. This behavior persisted throughout the week until she unexpectedly disclosed that she had drafted a victim impact statement and wished to read it herself in court, rather than allowing the prosecutor to do so. She felt that since there was no trial, only the charges against the assailant were known, not the specific details of what she had endured. Her statement is a thorough account of that horrifying night, but she has not yet read it to me in its entirety because she breaks down in tears each time she attempts to. That particular moment was the only instance all week I witnessed her express emotion until Saturday evening. That evening, Leah seemed unusually bright again and mentioned retiring early, around 8 p.m. I did not give it much thought until I received a call from the mother of one of Leah's closest friends. She was concerned because Leah's last message to her daughter was a note expressing affection and asking her to check on her. I hurried to Leah's room and discovered she had attempted to overdose on ZZQuil. As a nurse, I understood she would recover, but witnessing her awaken in the hospital was heartbreaking. She cried out, "Why couldn't you just let me die? I want to die, Mom. I'm tired of feeling their hands on me. I want it to stop. Please let me die." They had to sedate her to calm her. Following this, Leah was placed under a 72-hour psychiatric hold and subsequently transferred to a mental health facility with peers her age. The staff suggested extending her stay beyond the initial hold, but Leah has been struggling, particularly with a male staff member, possibly a psychiatrist, whom she says is asking intrusive questions about her sexuality, causing her discomfort. Staff members informed me she is not engaging in group activities and appears aloof. They even proposed limiting her ability to contact me as a consequence, though I requested they defer such measures. I am uncertain if the current inpatient environment is appropriate given Leah's apparent difficulty adapting. Her plea for death continues to haunt me. It is a thought I cannot dismiss. Leah's best friend shared additional details Leah had withheld from me. There's a cruel rumor circulating that Leah willingly engaged in group sexual activity, leading her to involve the police out of embarrassment. Children can be incredibly malicious. Regarding my other daughter, Maya, aged 18, I have not spoken to her in 2 weeks. However, I recently uncovered why Leah feels indebted to her. 2 years ago, I found inappropriate messages on Leah's phone exchanged between her and Maya's ex-boyfriend. He expressed affection for Leah and also drew comparisons between her and Maya. He told her she was far more attractive than Maya and appreciated that she was a virgin. When I informed Maya, she was furious and ended their relationship. Yet, she believed Leah had betrayed her by interacting with her boyfriend, even though Leah was 12 at the time and her boyfriend was 17. Maya continued to avoid Leah for 3 months afterward, and despite Leah's efforts to apologize, Maya still holds a grudge. Leah blames herself for damaging their relationship because of this incident. I am sharing this to unburden myself. I have kept these struggles contained within our family to safeguard my daughters. I am weary of constantly facing new difficulties and unsure how to resolve them. Now, I find myself in the challenging position of deciding whether Leah is mentally prepared to testify at her assailant's sentencing. I fear she will resent me for this choice, but I question if she is in a sufficiently stable state to manage a potentially traumatic experience, especially since these individuals actually have character witnesses. Update 3. More information regarding the psychologist. I discussed further with Leah what the psychologist said to make her uncomfortable. She recounted that after I left, they had her sit down with him one-on-one to essentially debrief why she was there and what was causing her these thoughts. She confided in him and told him about the assault. However, he asked her if this was her only sexual experience, and she confirmed it was. Yet, he continued to question her, seemingly disbelieving it was her sole experience, and told her he wouldn't tell me if it wasn't, encouraging her to speak freely. She repeatedly had to affirm that no, this was her only experience. Then he inquired about her sexuality, asking if she was still attracted to men, and she simply stated that she wasn't contemplating relationships at the moment. She just said she felt peculiar about him asking so many questions about her sex life, when it was just the two of them alone in a room with the door closed. I am not going to accuse the psychologist of being inappropriate, as perhaps he was simply performing his duties, but I feel he should have known to have a female staff member ask those questions, or simply have a woman present. He must have reviewed her chart before seeing her. Update 4. I'm back with a highly anticipated update. This is quite extensive, so a summary is at the bottom. A great deal has transpired, but I want to commence with a positive development. Leah began therapy after the sentencing and has been speaking favorably about it. She mentioned that it was surprising and refreshing not to have to discuss the assault with her therapist. Her therapist also proposed some EMDR sessions, with the first one scheduled for next week. Her general physician also cleared her to resume cheerleading if she wished and suggested she start birth control. I am uncertain about that, as I understand the significant impact it can have on mental health, and I do not want to jeopardize any progress. We also relocated to our new rental property, and I allowed Leah to get a kitten, which is now her constant companion. I rarely see the cat since we got it because she always has it with her. We also had to discard the majority of Leah's furniture to aid her healing process. I was attempting to create the Pinterest room of her dreams, but she no longer likes the things she used to and desires minimal color, so it remains a work in progress. She also has a boyfriend now. He asked her out on the 4th. He is age appropriate, and I know the boy because I grew up with his father, so I am confident he comes from a respectable family. My only apprehension is that she seems to be developing a codependent relationship with him. If he's not at my house, they're on FaceTime together, and every time we go out, she wants him to accompany us. This has been the case even before he asked her out. I would say it's been this way since Maya moved out. However, I am not overly concerned because I believe this is temporary, given it's summer and a new relationship. On the surface, she is content for the moment. In my previous post, I received numerous critical messages because I was not acting quickly enough or was not disclosing all the details to my son. I almost hesitated to create this post, but I want to preface it by stating that I understand my children, and they understand me. I am a person who values proper timing. Before I communicated anything to my other children, I wanted to ensure I had facts, not assumptions. I intended to arrange a meeting with the detective who interrogated Maya to relay everything. So I knew in my heart I had genuinely tried my utmost to hold my daughter accountable for her actions. When I met with the detective, he informed me he had indeed investigated Maya, but there was insufficient evidence. Even with all the information I provided him, it was not enough to indict her, so he could only charge her with child endangerment for leaving a minor she was supervising in a house with a registered sex offender. However, He affirmed everything I had suspected and reassured me. He also informed me that it is estimated Leah's ordeal lasted nearly 2 hours, during which 2 of the defendants had enough time to assault her twice, and Maya never ascended the stairs to check nor showed any concern during questioning, which prompted him to arrest her. He also stated that he had investigated many sex crimes, but this particular case disturbed him because so many bystanders were aware something terrible might be transpiring, yet did not intervene. Everyone failed Leah, not just Maya, and he advised me to keep that in mind. I met with my son and his wife before the sentencing. He was more disappointed than angry. He had a gut feeling but thought Maya wouldn't act with malicious intent. My son and daughter-in-law told me they always felt Maya harbored jealousy or felt threatened by Leah. My son observed it when Leah had her braces removed and her facial features matured, attracting more attention from Maya's friends. My daughter-in-law said she witnessed it firsthand during the bridesmaid dress fitting. Maya refused to compliment Leah, but instead criticized her. When my daughter-in-law told Maya that Leah would unlock so much potential once she recognized her beauty and disregarded her tormentors, Maya responded, "I know. That's why I have to keep her humble." My daughter-in-law found it odd, but didn't think much of it until now. They also told me that Maya blocked them as soon as I expelled her, and now they understand why. The sentencing was not as difficult as I had anticipated. Leah mentioned she initially found it uninteresting. The character witnesses for the assailants were, of course, their mothers and fathers. One mother stated that it was a terrible night and that we needed to cease perpetuating further harm. One father claimed his son had been sexually abused at Leah's age and that Leah must have triggered that within him. Leah was unaffected by this. She told me she disregarded them, but I could tell it bothered her. Leah opted to create a video and read her victim impact statement, and I was immensely proud of her. All 4 assailants offered apologies to Leah in their statements to the judge, but she did not look at them. She heard them and felt that only one was genuinely contrite. The others gave rehearsed responses. 2 of the assailants were sentenced to 10 years, but could be released as early as 6 years. The one who recorded it received 12 years due to his previous convictions, and the prosecutor informed me he might remain incarcerated for 20+ years because of a separate child exploitation charge. Maya's friend, the one Leah fears most, received 14 years, with the judge stipulating he should serve the full term and not be granted parole because he had been involved in a similar incident previously. Leah was content with their sentences, though she wished they all had received 14 years. She will be notified if they are released early or if there are any parole hearings. Maya was present, according to my son, but she remained far in the back and departed immediately after the court adjourned. Some of the assailants' families attempted to approach Leah directly to speak and apologize, which was the only thing that truly unsettled her. Aside from that, I believe she was fine. As we drove home, we began to process everything, and I tried to explain the subsequent steps. Upon arriving home, Leah remarked that it was strange one of the assailants referred to Maya as his friend because there was no way Maya would associate with someone like that. My face turned pale when she said this. I knew it was time to tell her. So I stated, "I've been meaning to tell you this. There are many reasons why I'm upset with your sister." She remained confused, so I clarified that Maya was arrested for leaving the house, not for hosting the party. She didn't seem to care about that. She simply reacted with, "Oh, okay." Then I said, "He wasn't lying in court. He was your sister's friend, and Maya secretly tried to set you 2 up that night." That's when I witnessed the moment of realization unfold. Leah initially thought I was fabricating the story, but as I elaborated further, it was like observing someone's heart shatter before my eyes. She interrupted me, saying, "I don't believe you. Maya would never be friends with someone that horrible." I simply responded, "She might not have been best friends with him, but she did have some kind of connection with him." Leah retorted, "Mom, that's really bad if that's true. No one understands how cruel he was to me all day. I had to sit in the courtroom hearing him described as such a good person when it's untrue. Why doesn't anyone believe that?" I began apologizing to her at this point, and she retrieved her phone and called Maya. Maya answered with a very cheerful greeting, and Leah immediately got to the point, asking if she had ever been friends with her attacker. I honestly anticipated Maya would deny it, but she admitted she had been, prior to the incident. Leah then asked if she had tried to set her up to date him, and Maya confessed, saying yes. Leah abruptly ended the call before Maya could attempt to explain herself, and Leah began trembling severely while typing on her phone. I then realized she was blocking Maya on every platform. After she finished, she looked up at me with tears in her eyes and asked, "Mom, why does she despise me so much? What have I ever done to her? I've been trying to be her friend, and she still hates me. Why?" We spent the remainder of the day weeping together. Honestly, the next day, Leah conveyed to me that she was finished with Maya and wanted no contact with her for a period. She explained that after she had a night to reflect, she felt more anger than sadness. She then opened up and revealed how Maya had made her feel so guilty, claiming she had ruined her senior year and blamed herself for what happened by not being more cautious and not locking the door. But now, to discover that she did indeed lock the door, and Maya had far more control over the situation than she led Leah to believe, left her deeply upset. Then she informed me that Maya has a drug problem with Adderall and painkillers, which she had sworn to keep confidential because Maya promised she was quitting. I asked her when the drug addiction began, and Leah said she didn't know, but she caught her taking her Concerta in April 2023. That's when Maya admitted to the drug issue. Leah also suspects one of her assailants was Maya's dealer, as he used to visit the house at night when I was working. Leah now believes that Maya essentially traded her for more drugs and never stopped as she had pledged, which wounds her profoundly. She also recalled that during the attack, her assailant stated that if she didn't cooperate, they would harm Maya, which makes her feel worse because she knows Maya wouldn't do the same for her. That was the last time we truly discussed Maya, and that was a couple of weeks ago, but I know it is genuinely taking a toll on her, which is why I splurged and allowed her to get a kitten. Maya is unaware of our new address, but has attempted to reach out to Leah numerous times using anonymous phone numbers. Leah is completely uninterested. Maya is no longer with my parents. My sister-in-law, with whom I have never gotten along, has taken Maya in, paying for her college and purchasing her a new car simply to spite me. I wish I were fabricating this, but she posted about it on social media. The disturbing part is that my sister-in-law is fully aware of what happened to Leah and everything Maya did, but simply does not care. She believes Maya is as much a victim as Leah and even telephoned Leah to make her feel guilty, using their father as leverage, saying, "Your dad would hate to see you quarrel and hold a grudge against your sister over a mistake." That's when I ceased communicating with her and instructed Leah not to respond to her anymore. I am extremely close to initiating a civil lawsuit on behalf of Leah against Maya, given that my sister-in-law desires to undermine my parenting and act against and harm her other granddaughter by financing Maya's life. However, my therapist believes that will not aid either me or Leah in healing, but I am so exasperated by that situation. I regret that there isn't a more positive resolution other than the fact that I have lost 3 people in the span of 4 years, and I am not coping well. I am profoundly depressed. I lost the love of my life and both of my daughters. I still grieve the loss of my precious girl. She will never be the same. And I cannot tolerate being around my other daughter because I perceive her as a deeply flawed, dangerous individual, and I blame myself for not recognizing it sooner. I worry about anyone she encounters in her adult life.